So, I'm from Australia and I've been in Europe for 90 days. I get 90 days on my tourist visa, the Schengen visa, and I've spent most of that time in Luxembourg, and not many people know about Luxembourg, so I want to give you a little bit of a summary of what I learned about Luxembourg. Alright, so back in the Middle Ages, everyone who had any money had a motherfucking big castle, and Luxembourg had the biggest castle. They had the best castle. I mean, have a look out here. Look at these walls. You know, there's no way you can penetrate these walls. They're unpenetrable. And so the French, the Belgium, the Germans, they're all like, these fuckers have got a great castle and we want this little patch of land they got, but they couldn't do anything because they had the best castle. So they were just left to do their thing, which originally was just, you know, growing a few vegetables and whatever. And then they dig in the ground and what do they find? Lucky bastards find a heap of steel. Hey, steel! So, prosperity for another 50 years or whatever, until it all disappears in about the 1970s. Then they're like, what are we going to do now? What about if we set up some banks and some low tax rates so that all the rich fuckers can put their money in our banks and then we get a little bit, we siphon a little bit off. Yeah, bingo, great idea. So, they're like the second biggest tax dodge country in the world, you know. Fantastic idea. You know, apparently the guy from North Korea even puts his money here. And I know Australian McDonald's put all their earnings here, so if I buy McDonald's here, I'm kind of sort of supporting Australian workers. Don't ask questions. Anyway, but that wasn't enough for them. I thought, what else can we do? Let's get into politics. So with the whole EU thing, you know, the EU, yeah, well, they thought, let's get involved in that. So they had this agreement in Schengen, which is in Luxembourg, and now they're running the whole shebang there too. They got people doing this, people doing that, you know, political shape shifter, whatever, you know. So they're just doing everything right for this little country, which, let's think about how big it is. Not even 1,000 square miles big, so that's about 2,500 kilometres square, so about 80 by 60 kilometres in size. So it's like a farm in Australia. It's like a fucking farm. It's small. There's hardly anyone here. In fact, if you met a Luxembourger, you're pretty lucky. And that's how it sort of reminds me a little bit of like Singapore. Like, you know, Singapore hasn't got a lot of land, and they've been clever. They've got into banking and finance and blah blah blah. And they've also been clever in that bring in other people to do all the fucking hard work. So the Luxembourgers were clever. They thought, let's build some stuff. Let's bring in some Portuguese. So in the 70s, there were a lot of Portuguese come here. Before that, there were a lot of Italians. And now, of course, they're running bars and they're doing other things. So it's a very multicultural place, very open place for different cultures. As I said, if you meet a Luxembourger, you're pretty lucky. So there's a lot of people from all around the world working here in banking and whatever. How have I found the place? It's great in summer. It really is great in summer because they have all these free festivals. So, like for example, the Grand Duke's birthday, they have all these free festivals. So all around town, they got these stages where they might have hip hop, blues and jazz. Another great festival we went to was the Blues and Jazz Festival. And what I find interesting, I mean, in Australia, you know, you go out and there's a lot of young people. You don't necessarily see so many old people. Here, I've seen people walking around walking sticks and stuff. It's like, go home, you old bastard. What are you doing? But everyone's welcome to do whatever they want to do, and no fights. Like we're walking around at 1, 2 in the morning. Everyone's having a drink, and you know, in Australia, it's the end of night entertainment. Two young stags banging heads together. I mean, that's where you go. You know, at the end of the night, oh, look at these dickheads. Doesn't happen here. Crazy. And even going to the supermarket, they're so damn polite. Like, you know, you're lining up and the people plane just flying overhead. Look at that. It's so small, the fucking airport is just over there. So even going to the supermarket, like, you know, in Australia, you go to the supermarket, you want to get through that line really quickly, you know? So you haven't got time for any shit conversation. It's just like, and the people who work in the supermarkets, they've got, you know, RSI in their hand, they've got these special things on their hand from work, pushing things through so fast, they're like robots, they're so damn quick, you know? Here, they pick up your item, they look at it, they say hello to you, say, I don't want to, you know, like, I'm not used to that. And then people are there, how's your family? They're getting their stuff, and I'd give my best Australian death stare, like, fucking hurry up, steam's coming out of it doesn't make any fucking difference. They're just polite. You know, they've just got all the time in the world, Completely different. Even hopping on a bus. Like, I got on the bus and I didn't know how to get a ticket. And I just hopped on. And like in Australia, you don't have a ticket in Australia. You're going to have some bastard fucking... No, not just one bastard, 3 bastards. Pin you down, bend your arm back, bang your head against the wall. Here, no one says a damn thing. They're just really polite. So that's some differences. Food and drink. All right. Luxembourg has some of the cheapest alcohol prices in Europe. Fantastic. In fact, they sell the most alcohol per capita, second highest in the world. Bottle of rum, 15, 20 Australian dollars. You work that out yourself. 10 euro. We'll work it out yourself. Very cheap. Very cheap. I'd recommend getting the Occult, local beer. Occult #1 is fantastic beer. Luxembourg cuisine. It's very agrarian. It's hard to find, actually. I would recommend getting, how do I say that? The pasta. They do a pasta out of wheat, milk and eggs called Knedlin. That's worth trying. And I also tried pork with a broadbean sauce, and that was... Exactly. Kutmartbonen. Yeah, and that's worth trying too. And you can just find the local restaurants to try. Everywhere you go, you want to try the local food. And the food really represents that agrarian background. It's very earthy, very rustic. Other things about Luxembourg, I think that's probably it. But it is a very small place. When I first came here, Michelle, who's got the camera, gave me a sausage. I call it a Letzburger. How do you say it?
Letzringer.
A Letzringer. And she said, how is it? And I said, it's kind of bland, but it's not going to kill me. Which I said is kind of like Luxembourg. And she was really offended. And so I wanted to make this video to tell you that Luxembourg is interesting. Places to visit. Head up north to Little Switzerland. Absolutely beautiful. Really nice. Head down south to check out what they've done, how they've changed. Like the south was where they did all the steel mining. And so they've changed all those factories into beautiful art installations. And it's really quite fascinating to see that. It's really, it's like these big transformers, that I imagine in 2014 are going to turn into robots and just walk across the land spreading apple seeds. But they're 2 places to go. Check out the castles. There's plenty of castles around. I mean, Luxembourg City was a big motherfucking castle, but there's other ones too, like up in Vianden, up in the north. They've got a beautiful castle, beautiful town too. And Beaufort Castle, which has got the torture room. That was what we're checking out. So these are some things you can do in Luxembourg. So I'd say, leave yourself a couple of days, a day maybe in Luxembourg City, wandering around, checking out the walls and whatever, heading up north, seeing Little Switzerland, checking out a castle, trying some food, and maybe down south and check out the where they used to mine all the steel. So that's Luxembourg in a nutshell. An interesting place. It's as I said, it's very small, but people are really polite. They have great things happening in summer, and probably a good place to raise some kids. And no traffic. It's very safe, wealthy. That's the end of my story. I'm back to the colonies, where you go out for a night and they beat each other up. Can't wait. Adios. Bye-bye. Check out the view.